Welcome back to the 11th Inning Podcast. I'm Dan Kolko. This is Ryan Zimmerman. And joining us now, a face, a voice that you guys know very well. He has been the play-by-play broadcaster of your Washington Nationals for 20 seasons now. He's been doing baseball play-by-play for north of 40 seasons. Bob Carpenter, welcome to the 11th Inning Podcast.
Of all the things I've done in my career, Dan,
yes, this is one of them.
Hey, no, really, I appreciate you guys having me with you guys. And I always told people that when Ryan Zimmerman retired, that's when I was going to retire. But I just wasn't ready. He surprised me a couple years ago, so I'm still hanging around. But so great to be able to work with this guy and you live on games now. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot from you, and yeah, maybe I should have hung on for a little bit longer. I feel like could have gone out together with some big party. It would have been great. Yeah,
who's that guy standing on the podium with Ryan Zimmerman?
It's the Ryan Zimmerman retirement day. And Bob's here.
And the other guy.
Bob, we've got a lot to ask you, but you've been doing this a long time. You've worked for a lot of different teams, but it's the Nationals that you have worked for the longest, mm-hmm. and that I think you identify with the most, especially as you kind of head into your retirement years. How would you describe what this last stage of your career has meant to you?
Well, I was speaking at Winterfest, I think about 6-7 years ago, and we were having a little scorebook session in one of the meeting rooms upstairs on the Sunday afternoon. And, at the end of it, we did a Q&A, and a fan asked me, is your heart still in St. Louis? And, what's the whole St. Louis, Washington thing? I said, hey. And at the time, I said, these 13 years of my career here in Washington, so this is 7 years ago, have been the greatest, most rewarding years of my career, because I always wanted to be the full-time guy for a big league baseball team. Now, in 1984, my first year, teams weren't televising that many games, certainly not that many home games. So TV guys didn't typically do more than 70 to 80, maybe 100 games if they did some home games here and there. So and I never got that opportunity in St. Louis on radio or on TV. And the Cardinals actually let me out of my contract a year early in 2006 so I could come here. And it's hard to leave your hometown. I was 14 years old when my sister got a job with the Cardinals, and all of a sudden I'm hanging out in the lobby and I'm seeing Lou Brock and Bob Gibson and all these guys at the ballpark. And, that's when I really caught the baseball bug. So being the full-time guy for a team, whatever team that turned out to be, and I got to tell you, this is probably the last place in the Major League Baseball I ever expected to work in baseball. I'd done soccer here. I'd done some Georgetown games and some G-Dub games in the area. But to be able to come here and then have it last 20 years, it's been pretty amazing. And really, Dan, I'll repeat it again. These have been the 20 greatest years of my career, because I feel like I've gotten in touch with the community. I have a relationship with the fans, and and then you get to sit in a major league booth and watch a ball game every day, and that's pretty cool.
Well, I think we've talked about this before. You just mentioned how you have relationships with the fans and the community. I mean, people ask me all the time, what was it like to lose at the beginning? What was it like to then be good? And then, we've all gone through basically these stages of life here with this organization. And, I think a lot of the fans consider you part of that journey. And, you talk to people and they talk about Bob. My mom always talks about, and whenever I tell her, hey, I'm doing the game tonight, it's not like, hey, well, listen. She's like, make sure you tell Bob. I said hello, and I'm like,
oh, the moms love me.
Yeah.
It's the daughters always had a problem.
She never says hi to me.
Yeah, I know.
But that's all right. Bob deserves it.
I'll get on her, but yeah. Well, Bob always used to say stuff about my parents down in Sandbridge and Virginia Beach and all that, so I think she obviously appreciated that. But I think more importantly is you've become just, I want to say as much as the players, because I think you would agree, you never want to be like thought of as a player. You always say, I'm just telling you what's happening in the game. The players make the action. Yeah. But I think you are a part of this community. I think when you are gone, I think the fans, among many other people, will miss you. But what has it been like to kind of grow up and go through? Because now that I do a little bit of announcing, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but
I think you're outstanding.
Thank you. It's not easy to announce when you're losing a lot of games. I mean, you have to find things to talk about, and then obviously you've done those years, and then you've done years where we've won 97 games. But what has it been like to go through that evolution with this organization, with this city, with all the players? It has to be fun. You talk about the greatest 20 years of your life. It's got to be just a fun part of your career to look back and see all the different types of teams you've been a part of.
Yeah, and sometimes in the sands of time, you forget certain things as the clock moves on. And I've had to go back and look several times at my scorebooks to see what some of those records were in 06. I got here in 06. I was still in St. Louis in 05, so I missed the first year here. But, looking at 66 and, 70, and, and then J-Dub got here and we went 511, and then on from there, which was fantastic. Yeah, it's hard. I've had people ask me, "Are you retiring because you're tired of losing?" And I said, "Well, I haven't personally lost any of those games, but I also haven't personally won any of those games. I'm here to tell you what's going on down there in as succinct and clear a manner that I can. But you do feel like you're part of it, and Dan's been on the road. You traveled endlessly with the team. Getting on that bus after a gut-wrenching loss is terrible. Back at the hotel, after a win, the food tastes better. Everything's great. You sleep better. And we do share that with you guys to a certain extent. But, when I was 14 years old and my sister got that job, I was suddenly around the ballpark all the time. She couldn't keep me away from that ballpark. And I was, we had tickets. I was going to the games. But the other thing I learned at that age, which a lot of people never learn, is how do you act around major league ball players? Because this, some people very respectful, some people are a little crazy, some people just fall apart when they see you. Yep. They get a little weird when they're around big league ball players. And I learned as a teenager how to be around ball players. And somebody told me once when I finally became a big league broadcaster in '84, I think one of my guys at Bud Sports in St. Louis told me, "Look, you've never been a ball player, you're not a ball player, and you never will be a ball player. That's an inner sanctum for those guys. That's their clubhouse. You're a privileged visitor in there. Don't ever walk in there and act like that you're a big deal or that you belong in there. It's a privilege to be in there."
Or that you're entitled to anything. There are some people in our industry who act like they are entitled to certain things, or that the clubhouse is theirs as well as the players.
Or the media relations department is their secretary or their assistant.
Yes.
And so, and I tell you, along those lines, I've never complained about anything. My brother-in-law, who met my sister at the Cardinals front office, he was the Cardinals public relations director. He passed away years ago. His name was Jerry Lovelace. I thought he was the most professional, cool guy I'd ever met. And I was like, man, I would love to have that job someday. This is before I really started thinking about broadcast. You get to be around the players, you're traveling with the team. But I learned a lot about being a pro from him, and I've tried to never forget those things. One other thing is, we all have good days, we all have not so good days before we get to the ballpark. When I get out of that car in that parking lot out there, and I haven't had a really great day, I'll have to kind of kick myself in the rear and say, hey, buddy, you're getting out of your car at a major league ballpark. There are hundreds of young men and women right now getting out of their cars at minor league ballparks in the spring, college ballparks, high school ballparks. Maybe there's a PA announcer somewhere who is so excited about doing the lineups today. And so I try to tell myself every day that it's a true privilege to be here. And hopefully over a long period of time, Ryan, the fans recognize, hey, this guy's okay. We like him. And, and that kind of helps the whole relationship blossom. Because my first couple of years here were not that easy. And a lot of people were very slow to accept me because they thought I was some yahoo from the Midwest who had Cardinal blood running through my veins. And maybe I did, but it's Nationals red now, not St. Louis red.
One thing that I'll say, Bob, and I've said this to you before, having worked with you now for over a decade and being around you a lot, it's really hard, I think, for players to do this as well. But when you guys go out there and compete, like, your personality or your mood is not, on display. When, as a broadcaster, if you're down, if you're not feeling good, and that transmits through that microphone, people will hear it, and will potentially affect the way that they view the game.
Yeah.
You have been the same once you put that headset on every single day. And that's not easy to do in this business because you can have your own stuff going on, like you said, before you get to the ballpark. There could be something that could go wrong technically that affects our ability to work a game.
Right.
There's any number of things that can impact your mood and just the way that your spirits are. But when you put that headset on every single day, you're the same exact guy, and that's something that I've tried to emulate, and I admire.
You're getting there. You're doing all right.
One day.
You know, when I was with the Texas Rangers, on the 4th of July, a tree fell on our house in Tulsa. Thank God nobody was in that room.
Yeah.
You know, big old branch came down, boom, power goes out. And, you know, my wife and our 2 little girls at that time are over at a friend's house, and I heard about it. There was no cell phones back in the mid-'80s. You know, and stuff like that. Or I'll get a text message 20 years ago, these girls are driving me crazy. Where are you? You know,
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing a ball game, honey. But, you know, everybody has those things going on in their lives. I'm sure Ryan heard some of that when his, you know, with the little bitty ones, and Heather's running around with them. And you will experience some of that, Dan. But, you know, I think baseball is a day-to-day thing. There's an ebb and a flow to the season. And I think announcers have to do that and handle that just like the players do. And in 1997, it was opening night in St. Louis. Ozzie Smith had just retired the previous year. He became my broadcast partner for 3 years on just the home games. He didn't want to travel, and I get that with players. You know, they've done a lot of that.
Who would do that?
Yeah, we're playing the Expos, and Ozzie's best friend, Willie McGee, hits a walk-off homer in the bottom of the 9th inning. I didn't realize it later until I saw the tape that some little outfielder named F.P. Santangelo was trying to climb the wall to pull the ball back in,
funny.
and it was 20 feet out of his reach, but he made it look real good. But anyway, Ozzie goes crazy. We have a great time. It's his first game. So we throw it back to the studio. We take off the headsets. And I said, okay, future Hall of Famer, what do you think about this broadcasting stuff? And he said something to me that I will never forget. He said, partner, the game sure looks easy from up here. And that was a guy who made the game look as easy as anybody who ever played shortstop or any position. And I've always tried to remember that, guys, that what they do is really, really hard. And it's so easy to hit 320 when you're sitting on your couch.
Well, I think you've said this a bunch. You try to be pro. You try to, you know, treat everything the same. And we sort of talked about that with Boswell with the writers' sort of version of that, about how they come in the clubhouse every day. I don't think a lot of people know that you guys travel with us. So if you're going to go on TV, I mean, it's your job to tell what's going on in the game. So I think there has to be a mutual respect between players and broadcasters. If a player's not playing well, and I've said this about the media as well, it's their job to tell the fans what's going on. But you have to walk that line. You do as well, too. Like you just said with Ozzie Smith, it looks a lot easier from up there. But when you guys talk or broadcast a game, I think it's important for people to know that you guys are getting on the same plane as we are. You guys are coming into the clubhouse. So you have to toe the line of obviously telling what's going on in the game, but also having in the back of your head, I have to go in there and be face-to-face with this guy.
Right.
So it's one of those things that I'm sure over the course of your career you've learned how to navigate that. And then you hear the stories of like the Dennis Eckersley in Boston. I mean, these things happen all the time. So I guess, you know, have you ever had anything like that happen? Obviously, I think the Ozzie Smith advice that you just shared with the viewers is great, and you know, it does look a lot easier. And when I do the games now, and I do some of them, I try really hard not to be like when I did this or when I played, because now I'm not playing, and I think you guys both do such a great job of just translating the information, being as unbiased as you can. And I think the fans, especially for you, you've been doing it for so long, respect that you just have a way of talking about the game without, I don't say being controversial, I'm a better word, but it's just such a tough thing to navigate now that I'm on that side to see it. And I was a player a short time ago. It's harder than people think to go up there and do what you do.
Well, and I I learned something else from Tony La Russa. You know, it's respect for the player, because if I say something about a player during a game, Guess who's listening?
The wife.
His wife.
The kids.
His family.
If there's a girlfriend,
dad.
single guys, the kids, the moms and dads, and in a lot of in a lot of instances, the grandparents as well.
Yep.
And I got to go face that guy. And I can't think of more than one or two problems I've had with a player over the years. I think those were smoothed over pretty quickly, because what I do, if I hear that somebody maybe is not happy with something I said, I don't wait for them to come to me. I will go right to their locker and say, okay, what did you hear? Because sometimes by the time it filters through those other people and gets to the player, unless he's sitting in the clubhouse after coming out of the game and hears it directly, sometimes it's not exactly accurate with what I said. So I will go to the player and say, okay, wait, what did you hear? And then I will respond. And then, usually it's something that's not that big of a deal, but a third party can make it a big deal. And I think that's part of it. And I think that's something that fans don't really know about broadcasters, is that this whole thing goes beyond putting a ball game on the air. Dan knows this. There's 30 to 35 people in that truck around the ballpark, in our booth, helping us put that game on. It's a huge team effort. Radio you can put on with 4 guys. You got 2 announcers, an engineer in the booth, and an engineer back at the station. We've got like 8 times or 9 times that many people. It's crazy how big of a team effort it is. But that whole thing is interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, and that goes back to what I was told as an early broadcaster. Be friends with the players, respect them, don't get too chummy, because you will never be one of them. Even though guys like us really wanted to, we wanted to do what you did. We weren't good enough to do that. And I think that's something that's really solid to remember as the years go by.
Well, and you guys grind with us as well. You guys travel with us. The playoffs in 19, I mean, you guys were back and forth. It
was great.
And it's fun. It's part of it. I think it's good for the people calling the games to go through what we go through, because you guys wake up and are tired that same day.
Confirmed.
And I think if you guys know how tired you are, and you just have to go broadcast the game, you can have a little bit of empathy or sympathy for us. As hard as it is to have sympathy for people getting paid to play baseball,
but
I
you're
think
exactly right.
I think you can maybe, give that to the fans. Like, hey, these guys we had plane trouble last night. Like, none of us are going to say that, because if we say it, then it's like,
you're pampered.
These rich athletes making excuses again. But if Dan says it, then you're like, if Dan can barely open his eyes when he's doing his report, they're like, man, Dan, you look terrible. And he's like, yeah, well, we got it in 3 a.m.
What do you expect?
Our maintenance the plane had maintenance problems, and oh, wow, that's crazy. So you guys are sort of an extension of our story, I guess, is the best way to put it.
And another thing people don't know about what play-by-play guys do is that I'm at my desk, either at home or in a hotel, probably at least 45 minutes to an hour every morning, just getting the book and notes and stuff ready before I ever even come to the ballpark. When we come to the ballpark and talk to you guys around the cage, visit with the manager, any coaches that we might seek out, that's the icing on the cake. We don't show up at 5 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game and have a hot dog and dinner and go do a ball game. I mean, we're usually here 3 o'clock, 3:30 at the latest, and there's already been maybe an hour to an hour and a half work that's been done in the morning. It gets first day of a series, very busy. Second day, third day, a little easier and less time preparing. But then 4 days later, here comes another team, and here you go. And in the 18 years I worked for ESPN, I often had 3 to 4 basketball games a week. That's 6 to 8 different schools and different teams that you're preparing for. And when people ask me why I color code everything, it's because you better not call a guy on one college team the guy who's on the other side. And because I get kidded about this. I got all these markers and pens upstairs. Everything's color coded, and that goes back to those days when you're doing a tremendous amount of preparation in a short period of time. And I tell young announcers, I say, hey man, if you think you're going to just show up, hang out with the coaches and do a game and have a great time, you are sadly mistaken. This is like having 4 final exams in a week. And guess what? There's 3 more next week, until that season ends. And I think that's a behind-the-scenes part of our job that's very satisfying, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking. I loved walking through the plane when we were traveling. You know, I'd grab a beer or a drink, and I just like go talk to people, my teammates obviously, but I would come up to where you guys were a lot of the times, and you know, a lot of the TV, even the radio guys are on their computers, taking notes. I mean, you guys are preparing kind of like we prepare for the pitchers. Mm-hmm. You guys are preparing because, I mean, now that I've done it a couple times, I mean, there's a lot of time during a baseball game that you guys have to talk.
And there's less time now than there used to be.
Yes, and you know, Bob, when you do it, obviously, and then when Dan does it when you're not there, I mean, you guys are the engine to the operation. You know, if I'm there or if Franny's there or whoever's the color guy or the third guy, you know, you guys are teeing us up. When there's nothing going on and there's kind of silence, it's up to you to fill that silence with something meaningful and not just say something to say something. So that goes back to preparation and having, like, you know, if it gets a little slow or something, this is what we're going to talk about. So, I mean, you're basically doing what we do without the physical aspect of it. I think, like you said, it takes a lot of time.
When I was at ESPN, there was one play-by-play guy who used to tell people, well, I'm the show. Well, guess what? That guy wasn't there very long, and we're not going to get into any specifics. But that's not the attitude. But like Dan said, the play-by-play guy sets the tone for the entire show. You know, Franny's going to react to things he sees, but if it's 8-0 and we're behind in the fourth inning, that's when we're pulling stuff. And that's when, and Dan will learn this as the years go by too, that's when your experience of seeing thousands, and I don't know how, people have asked me how many baseball games I've done. It's probably somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000. I don't know. I've never counted those up.
We need to get that. We'll get it done.
Yeah, we'll find that out. I just don't tell my wife.
Okay.
or add basketball onto that total.
Yeah. Debbie, earmuffs.
Yes. But Jack Buck told me this once. He said, kid, every night you come to the ballpark, you're going to see something you've never seen before. More than often than not, that's the truth. Some nights, you know, it's just kind of a smooth ride. But even when times are tough, you will see something that happens during a game, and I'll say, I remember that guy. I remember an inside the park homer just like that that I saw 25 years ago in Cleveland, you know. And that's the beauty of baseball. It's a timeless game. And I think fans, unless they're totally into analytics or they're totally into stats, I hear from a lot of people who like to hear those old stories of old-time ball games. And, you know, I grew up listening to Jack Buck and Harry Carey, Harry Callis in Philadelphia, Ernie Harwell in Detroit, Vince Scully in L.A., all those that great generation of announcers. They were all storytellers. And sometimes the pace of the game doesn't lend itself to that. And some nights you got all the time you need to tell as many stories as you want.
Yeah, I mean, some of those voices are unbelievable. And quick Harry Callis story, Aaron Boone's voicemail might still be. It used to be Harry Callis. And it was, you know, Aaron Boone's out of here, leave a message. And then, like, it was like the coolest thing of all time. But, you know, it's just, I love hearing about those old because those guys are legends, man.
Totally.
I've left a few see you laters on voice messages.
I'm sure you have.
I don't charge for that, but, you know,
you're such a
we don't
nice
want that
guy.
to get out. But it's fun, and that's part of the whole thing. Real quick, when I was with the Cardinals back in the early part of my career, there are certain players that stand out to you as exceptional guys, and as a broadcaster, they know who you are. Tom Pagnozzi was that first guy. He was a Cardinals catcher, won a couple of Gold Gloves. He loved the broadcasters. He treated us with respect. He'd buy guys beers. He'd go, like you, he'd go up and down the aisle in the plane. And then I never really met that kind of guy until 30-some years later when this guy had that same awareness. I'll never forget, we were doing an interview on the field, and Ryan and our director or producer, Chip Winfield, says, hey, Ryan, can you count to 10 for a level? He goes, yeah, Chip, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, he knows our producer's name.
Yeah.
And not all guys are like
Chip's
that.
famous.
Yeah. And now he's on the podcast.
Oh.
Just like Bob. The highlight of their careers.
This is, I don't know, you know, I might as well hang it up tomorrow.
Rapid fires?
Yeah, so we end every show with 5 walk-off
Quick hitters.
Walk-off questions from Mr. Walk-Off.
5 walk-off questions from Mr. Walk-Off.
The first
Shouldn't
question
there be like 10 though?
Yeah.
11.
The first
11.
question and the last question are the same for everybody. So, like, the first question is, what mantra did you live your life by, or what's some advice that has helped you throughout your career on a day-to-day basis?
A lot of this comes from Debbie Carpenter. Be yourself, be real, because if you're not, you will be found out. It's probably not perfectly word for word, but she has shaped me. We'll be married 46 years this November. She has shaped the person that I become, because before I met her, I was a knucklehead, man.
I think we could all probably say the same.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good
That's
one.
awesome. All right. Second one. Where did See You Later come from?
Texas Rangers, mid-'80s. I really didn't have a home run call. We had a bunch of guys in that team. Bobby Valentine was our manager. So it was a kind of a raucous time in my life, those 4 years in Arlington. Bobby was great. We used to go out and play racquetball together on the road, and I could play a little bit, but he wiped the floor with me. But it was his team. We had some power hitters. A former Washington Senator, second base, Toby Hara.
Okay.
Toby had some power. First baseman, Pete O'Brien. Third baseman, Larry Parrish. Left field, Pete Incaviglia, never spent a day in the minor leagues out of Oklahoma State. Oda B. McDowell in center, who played college ball with Barry Bonds at Arizona State. And I'm probably forgetting a guy or two. We had a bunch of boppers on that team. So when they would hit homers, I would just go, see you later. Well, fast forward about 12 years later. So that was kind of my home run call through the mid-'80s, early 90s. Is this rapid enough for you? I'm going into
You're
a lot of
good.
detail. Okay.
You're doing great, Bob.
Okay.
Keep going.
Mark McGuire shows up in St. Louis in 97 at the trading deadline.
Yep.
Of course, 98, him and Sammy. His fly balls were in the air so long, if I said, see you later, that thing wasn't even
It'd be
halfway.
a lot of dead air.
It wasn't even halfway to the upper deck yet. So that's when I started the see you later. And by that time, hopefully the ball was coming down. That's how that whole thing happened, and I guess it kind of got perfected thanks to Mark McGuire.
I like it. That's a good guy to perfect it with.
No doubt.
All right, now that you're talking about retirement, what's going to be your first trip? Or do you and Debbie have like a bucket list of things you want to go, places you want to go, or things you want to do?
Yeah, we do. Our first trip at the end of October, we're going to Carmel. I don't know if I have the guts to take my sticks to Pebble Beach. I kind of doubt it.
Come on.
We're going to Florida Panhandle in January. We're taking a driving trip in May to the Dakotas. Doesn't sound that exciting, but it's only about 7 hours north of where I live. The only 2 states I haven't set foot in.
He told me that the other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gonna check off 49 and 50.
I got to check off the Dakotas. And next August, we're going on an Alaskan cruise. Now, if I'm still breathing after all that, it'll be great. And, probably mix in a little bit of golf. Right. But for me personally, the one that I really need is about a 4-day golf school. Not just go play somewhere. I need a golf school.
I'm sure you can find one of those.
Yeah, got to.
Wow, you have like 2 years planned out. It's like, well, maybe he's got a couple trips. He's like, well, actually.
Plus,
you think Debbie has been waiting around all these years and doesn't have stuff mapped out?
She's got like an itinerary on the refrigerator.
Oh my
gosh.
The punchline
like, please,
the punchline
Bob.
in our house used to be, well, we've been married X number of years, but he's only been home for half of it. Guess what? It's not funny anymore. It's not a punchline.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But hey, she's got it all scheduled out.
That's Alaska would be great.
Yeah.
We'll have to check in and see how your trips go. All right. Who is an announcer that you looked up to or admired?
I think the guy who had the biggest influence on me was Jack Buck. Jack had what a college professor of mine called economy of words. At the end of the night, Harry Carey, was my other childhood guy. You can't go on the air sounding like Harry Carey. There's no way.
There's only one.
You'd never make it out of A ball. Harry was a one-time deal.
Yep.
Jack was a polished professional, had a kind of a dry, low-key sense of humor. And here's the thing about Jack Buck that I tell people that's kind of hard to understand. Every night when the game was over, he would do a pretty brief scoreboard show, give the scores and all that. And then he would say, so long for just a while, which I sometimes say after a Nats loss, because after a win, I'll say, see you later, and it's all fun. But when Jack Buck signed off the air, you were disappointed. Every night he left you wanting more. And he was kind of a minimalist, He could say a lot. And this is on radio. You know, he wasn't one of these guys describing everything going on in the ballpark, but you felt like you were there because he left enough dead air. You could hear the crowd. You could hear the vendors. Sometimes you could hear the players of the, you could hear the sounds of the ballpark, the organ. He left you wanting more every night. And I can't think of a better trait for anybody who's entertaining people to have than that.
Absolutely. All right, last one. We asked this to everybody. Your go-to karaoke song.
Ooh, karaoke. As Dan knows, I'm kind of a big music guy.
He is.
I know that.
My favorite band of all time is, yes, the progressive rock group from the 80s.
Okay.
Love those guys. Them and Genesis are my guys. But for a karaoke song, wow, I would probably have to say Little Help from My Friends by the Beatles from
That's
Sgt.
a nice
Pepper's.
one.
Wow.
That's a nice one.
It is such a feel-good song.
Yeah.
You're getting by with a little help from your friends.
And
Kind of like
it'll
what
inspire
I'm
everyone to
doing
sing
right
along.
now.
Oh, wow.
That's
Well,
cute.
That's a good one. I'm going to have to put that one. I keep a list in my phone because everyone, when they go do karaoke, I don't have a karaoke song.
Yes, you do.
And I show them the list because, I love it.
And guess what's funny about that song? Ringo Starr is singing that song, not Lennon or McCartney. It was Ringo, not the two or George Harrison.
Very
it was
cool.
the drummer.
I love it.
Before we go, I'm going to refer to the paper here because I got to get this right.
Okay.
Is this a special announcement?
Special
Man,
announcement. This is a special
It's
announcement.
first time ever on a podcast.
Well, here
If
we
Dan
go.
pulls out paper, it must be serious.
Uh-oh.
Bob, Saturday, September 27th, here at Nationals Park, we're going to call See You Later Day.
Oh, wow.
We're going to have a special pregame recognition and ceremony for you ahead of the White Sox game. And we are excited to tell you on behalf of Nationals ownership and front office personnel that your name will be unveiled under the windows of our television booth
Oh, my God.
as part of that recognition for your 20 years of service here at the Nationals. We've got some other surprises in store for that day as well, and we hope Nats fans will join us. The ceremony is going to begin at around 3 p.m. that day ahead of the game against the White Sox, but your name is going to be unveiled underneath our television booth. It will be there in the ballpark facing fans for the rest of our time here in this yard. Wow. And See You Later Day is going to be a really special day for all of us.
We're so high up there, you think they'll be able to see it?
Probably not.
I don't know what to say. I don't often get speechless and have to take my glasses off for misty reasons, but I've already been told that something was going on that day, and I'm really happy that I can share this with my wife, my daughters, my sisters, and my son-in-law and my two little grandsons, James and Ben. Wow. I think I'm done for the day. Thank you, guys.
Well, very cool, very well deserved.
Wow. Congratulations, Bob.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
a huge honor, and like we said, you deserve it, and it'll be fun to be here to see how special that day is. So I'm looking forward to it.
I still remember your exit against the Red Sox. I got misty watching that.
I think I did too, a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
In the batter's box.
Thank goodness Fielden Colbreth, one of my favorite umpires of all time, was behind the plate. We went back, and then he was like, he had to come around again, and he was like, "Hey, big guy, hey, are you okay now or what?" And I'm like, man, I didn't even think this was going to happen. He's like, take a deep breath so we can play the game.
Yeah.
But
well, I'll tell you what I remember about that. Because I was getting misty on the air. You're supposed to be a polished professional.
Hey, man.
Even keel broadcaster, but that was a moment because to a lot of people you were and still are the Washington Nationals on the field, but when you looked over and the entire Red Sox dugout was up on the top step,
Yeah,
and Alex Cora over there, former teammate,
who I played with,
yeah, and when I saw a team we hardly ever play, and those guys are all honoring you, that's the one that got to me.
Well, I think. And I've said this before, I think the best respect you can get is the respect of your peers. And not even your teammates, but people you played against, people you competed against. And in your guys' profession, people that do the same thing as you, that go on the trips, that do the grind that you guys do. So the respect of your peers, like I'm sure you have, and obviously the respect of everyone in this organization. So congratulations. It's going to be a great day. Hopefully, tell the fans to get out here early, and I'm sure we'll have some special surprises for you on the field as well. But well deserved, and
Indeed.
It's going to be really cool to see.
Congratulations,
I hope
buddy.
one thing doesn't happen and one does. I hope it doesn't rain. And I hope somebody hits a home run on See You Later Day.
Yeah.
I don't care who it
Has
is.
to.
Somebody's got to go yard.
I love it.
Cool. Bob,
Hey, guys, this has been awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming on.
congratulations on that honor, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today. This has been a lot of fun.
I'm very touched, and this has been the most fun thing I've done in quite a while. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
Awesome. Bob Carpenter here with us on the 11th Inning Podcast.